2% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't lived the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and damn, they sent me where the life is be. The level 4 with depth and fights, the type of shit they like to see. True choices fight or flee, I refuse to die a chump. I never been a bitch, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get punked, some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5. Year-long racial fights when homie, all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole, causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, bulldogs and skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF and Gumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. The Northerners was loony, quick to ride up on their rivals. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in their Bibles. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damoos, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IEs, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pie Rules, the Hustlers quick to roll, the Gangsta Crips move. Whatever clique you choose, you better stick to the...
All right, so let's get right into today's video, man. So a lot of times I'll be having a lot of stories and sometimes I forget, but I happen to run across an idea book where I wrote down some ideas for stories, and this is the story of TV Stevie, Lord of the Remote. So I end up running across this dude, man, when I was at CMC West. Now, around 2016, I left CMC East and went to CMC West Yard. Now, CMC West, I think it was built like back in the early 1940s or somewhere around there. From my understanding, initially it was like a some type of army facility or whatever. So they had a whole bunch of army barracks on the yard, and it was crazy, right? So when I first pulled up on the bus, now some of these buildings are looking kind of old, they're decrepit. It's you know, they got these wooden buildings. I'm thinking like, damn, man, where the fuck they got me at up in this motherfucker, right? I'm looking, man, this shit look like the goddamn projects around this motherfucker, man. You got these buildings, you got dudes running around and shit, a bunch of wild young dudes, you know. In between the buildings, they got these little grassy areas where, you know, dudes can play dominoes. They got some tables and shit set up. But what really fucked me up is they got clotheslines, man. And, you know, that just really gave the penitentiary like a real ghetto type look, man. Dudes got clotheslines and shit. You know, they got socks and drawers and shit hanging all on the clothesline, you know, blue jeans and sweatpants and shit. I'm like, man, where the fuck these motherfuckers got me at, right? And then I'm looking at these old ass decrepit looking buildings and shit, right? So we drive through there, you know, they end up, you know, stopping somewhere. I get off, I go through R&R, and it was just crazy, right? So the buildings, I'm gonna try to put a picture up that looks somewhat similar to what the buildings was. Now keep in mind too, this is a level 2 yard, and so on this yard, you had active Northerners, you had active Southerners, you had active Woods, you know, everybody was active on this yard. Now on the East yard, you had certain groups who their factions did not allow them to go to that yard, and if they went to that yard, they was no good. But on the West yard, they could come to the West yard. Now, right before I left East yard, an important individual for the Southern faction had pulled up, right? This dude obviously had a lot of juice because he declared the East yard a good yard for the Southerners to program at, right? And so after he made that declaration, slowly but surely, they started coming, and when they would come, instead of coming to the yard fighting and leaving, they were now staying. And so their numbers was building and building, and it was a whole bunch of them that was coming there, right? Because once again, it was cool for them to be there. Eventually, a riot jumped off, and a white Crip by the name of Matthew Cook, who was actually 6 or 7 cells down from me on the same tier, lost his life. So anyway, like I said, man, I get over here and I get to this West yard, man, and I don't like it, right? Coming from the East yard or level 3, it's cell living, right? So you have your own personal property. You got your TV, your radio, things of that nature, right? But now when we're living in this army barracks type settings, of course, there is no personal TVs. You know, you can keep your radio, your CD player and all that type of stuff, headphones, but TVs, you had to send them home, right? So a lot of people would either send them home or give them to a homeboy when they was leaving, or sell them or what have you, right? And so now when I first pulled up to CMC West, the first building that everybody went to initially, it was like a reception building. And for the most part, everybody was just coming in, you know, getting housed. They may stay in there 3 or 4 days and then they get sent to another building. I think it was like 5 or 6 buildings on the yard. You had a few dudes who were regulars up in there, maybe 10 or 15. You know, the majority of these dudes was just lifers, you know, were older and who were not considered troublemakers by the main CO that worked that building 5 days a week. She was a female and she really was an asshole, to keep it 100 for the most part, man. And so like any other prison that I had been to before this one, anytime you hit a yard and you've done a considerable amount of time, you're going to run across a lot of people you was at in other prisons. Now, CMC West, they had about, I think, 3 or 4 different yards, right? And so when I get here, I see a gang of other dudes that I done time with, man. Actually, when I get to that reception building, I run across a dude who was literally my very first cellie when I got to the pen. You know, the dude was kind of cool. He was older back then. This dude had, you think I got stories. This dude had a gang of interesting stories, right? But I had to get up out that cell, man, because the dude was snoring. It would sound like a train was coming up in there. Now, of course, you know, as always, when I moved in a cell with somebody who snored, one of the first things they gonna tell you is, hey, homie, man, you know, I snore, man, but, you know, if I'm snoring too loud, just knock on the bunk and, you know, it'll wake me up and I roll over. I'm like, okay, cool. But then, you know, he get the snoring loud up in there. I don't care if I went to sleep first, you know, he'd wake me up. I don't care if I went to sleep second, he'd wake me up. It was nothing around that. So, you know, the first couple of nights you try to be patient, but once you up there, you know, and when I run across old boy, we on a level 4 yard, right? So I have to get me some sleep, man. I got to get some sleep because, you know, on the level 4 yard, man, we up in the morning at 6 o'clock. Mattresses rolled, suited and booted, ready to go, right? So I can't be staying up all night and then be walking around the yard tired, not on point, so on and so forth. So after I figure all this out, man, eventually I start knocking on the top bunk, like you know, like he said, or hitting the bunk, you know, telling this dude he's snoring too loud. He's, oh, what's up, homie? Was I snoring? Like, yeah, man, you snoring. He's like, oh, okay, my bad. He'll roll over. That wouldn't help the problem. You know what I'm saying? So after about 4 or 5 times of tapping on that bunk, he, like any other cellie that I had who was snoring, they get tired, you know, talking about, hey, man, you waking me up. Well, yeah, I'm waking you up, motherfucker, but motherfucker, you keeping me up. You know what I'm saying? So despite the fact he was a cool dude, he had a lot of interesting stories, man. I had to get on like I'd been shit on up in there, man. You know, I just can't be staying up all night. So anyway, I run across that brother, right? And so now he had already been doing a whole lot of time. So he was familiar with how to do time, or it seemed at least he should have been familiar, right? So when we get to this 2 yard, man, this dude's whole makeup didn't change, right? So he's one of the regulars in this building, right? And so when dudes come up in there, you know, they had a lot of youngsters coming through there, man. And if dudes would be up in there loud and making noise and stuff at night and all this old type of stuff, man, he say, hey, man, y'all being too loud up in here, man. Y'all being too loud up in here. Dudes continue to be loud. Mysteriously, about 2 or 3 days later, they'd come back. They pillow would be gone from their bunk. And you know what that meant? That meant that, hey, man, your ass is being moved. We done found a building for you to go. And once again, get on like you've been shit on. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying he was behind the moves. I'm just saying he was mysterious and it had a lot of people curious. So anyway, another weird, crazy thing this dude was doing, right? So like I said, man, we had a TV room for the blacks, right? And so this dude, man, used to keep the remote control in his jacket, right? And then he would sleep to like 3 o'clock, 3, 4 in the morning. 3, 4 in the afternoon. And so dudes is sitting up in there in the TV room, you know what I'm saying? Just watching whatever's on. Every now and then they would get up and just press the button and stuff. So after I'm sitting up in there like 3, 4 days and I notice him one night with the remote control, the next day I go get at him like, hey, homie, you got the remote control? He like, oh, yeah, it's in my jacket pocket. He like, oh, yeah, chill, you know, you cool. You can use it, homie. But when you finish, man, can you bring it back and put it in my jacket pocket, right? And I'm thinking like, what type of bullshit is this? You know what I'm saying? So later that day, because he was asleep when I went and got at him. Later that day, when he woke up, I addressed him about the situation. I'm like, homie, come on, man. You know better, man. This is not your TV room. This is a TV room for all the brothers, right? But see, that's the bad part about certain individuals, man. They get some type of selfish idea that this is they stuff as opposed to everybody else stuff. But you had certain dudes in each buildings, in the black day room at least, feel that, you know, they could control the TV. My program is I would come outside, I would jog about 3 or 4 miles, then I would go work out, do cardio, run up and down the benches and do push-ups and stuff for about another hour. Then I'd go over there, hang out and play dominoes with some of the older cats, right? And so after being there, I don't know how long, 4 or 5 months, one day I'm sitting outside and a CO comes up to me. He says, hey, man, you know, I've been watching you, man, and I see that you stay out the way, man. And some dude just left my building. He happened to be in one of them buildings that only had like 30 people or whatever. He said, hey, if you want to, man, I can move you up in here. I said, oh yeah, man, no doubt. You know what I'm saying? So we put in the necessary paperwork, and I moved into one of these buildings that had less people, which was cool because I had got into it a time or two with the female, the controlling guard from the other building, right? And I just seen eventually the way she tried to police individuals, and my attitude, it wasn't gonna work, right? Because like I said, once again, she was one of them people that thought that the CO, the convicts pretty much should bow down to her simply because she was a CO, right? And so now when I get in this other building, this is when I have the pleasure or the displeasure of running across the infamous TV Stevie. Now they called this dude this because this dude was an all-out TV freak, man. This dude had real TV issues. He was the lord of the remote. He was the GOAT remote. I mean, this dude, man, would get that remote and not want to give it up, right? And I believe, if my memory serves me correct, he had gained the name TV Stevie at another level too down there at Chuckawalla, because he had the same issues down there, right? Chuckawalla also was a dorm type setting, right? And so this dude's program was he would go to work. He would get up in the morning, he would go to work. Where I was at CMC West with him, he would go to the paint. He was a painter, so he would go do his thing, you know, paint these other buildings or whatever they had him doing. Once he got off, around 3:34, he'd come back, you know, he may hit the shower, go out, work out for a little bit or whatever. And then he felt, since he had been gone and working all day long, everybody else already had time to watch the TV. And so now it was his turn, even though he failed to consider, what about the other people who, just like you, may have got up and went to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, so on and so forth. Now, TV Stevie, I want to say, was probably about, man, 5'7.5", maybe 5'8", maybe about 100 and I want to say 55, 60 pounds, pretty much slim bill, right? TV Stevie had false teeth as well, right? Which sometimes when he'd go in this day room and be sitting there with another individual by the name of Whack. Now, Whack probably was about 5'9", I want to say maybe about 185. You know, Whack was pretty cool too. You know, Whack, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was from Denver Lanes, right? But I could be mistaken on that. But Whack definitely was a blood. TV Stevie happened to be a Crip from the Long Beach area, right? That's all I'm going to say, man. If you know, you know, right? So anyway, man, and honestly, outside of TV Stevie's control issues, trying to be the lord of the remote, TV Stevie was pretty cool his damn self, right? But he just had severe issues with that remote control. So anyway, after I get up in there for a while, man, I'm starting to see that both of these dudes have a program to where at night, they want to be in control of the remote. They want to choose what's being watched on the TV screen. Now, me, I didn't watch a whole lot of TV at all. Like I said, after I'd go outside, work out, exercise, play domino, I'd go to the library, check out me a few books, and just sit on my bunk and read these books. For all the time that I was on the 2-yard, I just didn't prefer sitting in the day room, holding my head up, straining, you know, trying to look at the TV with dudes in there yelling, hollering, arguing, talking. You couldn't hear nothing anyway, right? For the most part, the only time you might catch me in the day room watching TV when it was extremely crowded, if they had a basketball game on that I was interested in watching. Now, one good thing about being on the 2-yard, you get much more freedom than you got on the 3-yard, and especially a 4-yard, right? I don't remember the exact time, but I think program shut down maybe around 9 o'clock, 9:30, somewhere around there. So you could be on the yard till about 9:30, you know, whatever time it closed down, you know, out there just talking, playing chess, walking laps, exercising, you know, doing whatever. And so for individuals, especially the younger ones who may have not liked being in the cell as much, this was a better situation for these type of dudes, right? So then when we finally would have to lock up around 9, we'd come in, we would have to get on our beds, and then the CO would eventually come through there and he'd count. Once he'd count, he would leave and go somewhere else. Right now, what we were supposed to do, we were supposed to stay on our beds another 30, 45 minutes or however long it took for count to clear. Then we was allowed to get up and go get in the day room, and we could pretty much stay in the day room all night watching TV if we wanted to, right? But of course, you know now, TV Stevie, the lord of the remote, wanting to be in control, soon as the CO would count and leave, when he go out that door, TV Stevie would pop up like a gopher out the hole. He'd look around, then he'd get up, he'd slither his little ass down into that TV room, grab that remote, and sit at the front. Right now, a lot of people wouldn't do that because if the CO would happen to come back and catch you in there watching TV before account was cleared, he would likely move you to another one of those buildings that was more crowded, right? But TV Stevie, shit, he didn't care, man. TV Stevie wanted to be in control of that TV, and he would take that chance, right? And so eventually when count would clear, the rest of the dudes who watch TV in the same TV room, they would then get up and go in there and watch TV. Now, the TV room was set up, it was kind of like an old room with a white linoleum floor, and it had like maybe I think 3 rows of benches on each side, these small little hard wooden and metal benches pushed up against the wall on each side, you know, and you could walk through. There was a small little path in the middle that you could walk through. The TV was up on the wall and they would sit there and watch TV. Now, at the time, man, I had a good homie there by the name of Dewey from Bakersfield. At that time, Dewey had probably been down 26, 27 years, man. So for the most part, you had a lot of individuals who wasn't necessarily tripping on what was watched on the TV, so on and so forth, right? But these two dudes, man, TV Stevie and Whack, they always wanted to control the TV, right? And, you know, these dudes would sit back and watch a long, boring-ass movie just if they had a, you know, a scene or two of females in some bikinis or so on and so forth, right? I mean, these dudes, you know, a lot of us, of course, have been down a long time, man, minus female attention, female, you know, embrace, so on and so forth. But both of those dudes was thirstier than a hyena with his mouth taped shut. Now, a lot of times you might have TV Stevie sitting in the very first bench on the left. Then you would have Whack sitting on the very first bench on the right. And the only thing in between them would be that small little area that the walkway provided where you could get up and, you know, come in and out of that TV room. Now, both of these dudes happen to have dentures, right? And at night, they'd go in there with their bowls. They'd take their dentures out, set their dentures down somewhere, and they'd be looking at each other, laughing and clowning and stuff. And my boy Dewey from Bakersfield used to say, look at them niggas up there. They look like them old motherfuckers from the Muppets. Y'all remember them 2 old men that used to be in the balcony arguing with each other from time to time and watching shows and shit? And there was also another homie of mine up in there, the homie named Mac from Paris, and a couple of other dudes, right? And like I said, for the most part, I didn't even go in the day room or even trip on the TV whatsoever. But the times that I would go up in there, these two dudes just trying to, you know, monopolize the TV was something that, you know, after a while, it kind of started to bother me. Not so much with Whack, right? Whack, you could compromise with Whack. But TV Stevie, he didn't give no fucks, man. TV Stevie would sit up in that bitch like he invited everybody else to his personal living room. He may watch a show, that motherfucker go off an hour, he'd watch another show. He wouldn't turn back and say, hey, man, y'all want to watch something? TV Stevie's ass would be flipping that damn remote control like he was the only motherfucker up in there. Now, on a couple of occasions before I got there, of course, you had certain individuals who had said something to him. I believe the homie Mac had even jammed him up one day. But like I said, man, for the most part, the majority of dudes in that building, man, they had been down a while. They had life sentences and they had bigger fish to fry than tripping over a state TV. So on this particular night, we go through the same routine. You know, it's time to lock up at 9. We go get on our beds. The CO, he come through there. He take count. He bounce. Soon as he bounce, TV Stevie slide his ass back in the TV room, get the remote control. So when count clears now in 15, 20 minutes or however long it was, you know, we all go up in there, you know. So when I get up in there, you know, you got dudes up there sitting in their seats or whatever in the little bench. Me and Dewey, we happen to sit in the back, you know, and let them do what they do, right? So they watch one program. Then they watch another program, right? And after a while, like I said, man, when they watch these programs, when the program go off, they don't look back and say, hey, man, you guys want to watch anything, any suggestions? They just flick it, you know. They flick it, man, like it's just them two up in there. So they sitting up there, you know what I'm saying, with their big bowls, eating their spreads. Both of them got their dentures out. They laugh and looking at each other like them motherfuckers from the Muppets. So at some point, man, I can't take it no more. You know, I think a program happened to go off or whatever, and something in my mind said, man, fuck this motherfucking shit. I said, hey, homie, you ain't fit to acknowledge none of us back here or ask us what we want to watch. I walk up there, TV Stevie got the remote. He clicking. I said, man, give me this motherfucking remote. I snatch it from him. When I snatch the remote, he try to get up. Now, keep in mind, TV Stevie is already sitting down. So when TV Stevie tries to get up, I already have the advantage because I'm standing up over him. And like I said, he's in a sitting down position. So when he tries to get up, man, I snatch him by the neck and slam him right back down on the bench. I'm like, slam him like, nigga, fuck that motherfucking bullshit. You got life fucked up. Or whatever it is I said. He's struggling right now. I'm slamming him all on the bench and ragdolling him. Nigga, you got life fucked up. And then people was like, hey, man, y'all being loud. Y'all being loud. I said, man, no, fuck that shit, man. This ain't this motherfucking shit. I got him in a cold, front face lock on his neck. I'm squeezing this shit. Dude's like, hey, chill. Come on, man. Chill, man. Calm down. So I finally push him back. The bench slide a little, let him go and stuff. He looking around. He like, man. And people is telling him, hey, man, Steve-O, chill is right, man. You wrong. Every night you want to try to come in here and monopolize the TV. Now, there was one individual in there, it seemed like Steve-O tended to look up to a little bit, or at least listen to, which was my homie Mac. And him and Mac had got into it a couple of times over that same issue, right? And Mac told him, hey, man, Steve-O, listen, man, you wrong. You can't just come in here every night and control the TV. And so pretty much Steve-O kind of just sat there, and of course, like I said, man, you had Dewey from Bakersfield speaking up and a few other dudes in there as well, man, pretty much just letting Steve-O know, like, yeah, man, homie, you can't just do this every single night, right? To keep it 100, I don't even think I was interested in watching anything. I was just tired of this shit happening night in and night out, and especially every time I came up in there, right? So I may have sat up in there another hour or so or whatever, just watching a little something, just kind of like to irritate and aggravate Steve-O, right? And then finally I set the remote down and I went on and got up out of there. So then I think it was the next day, or it may have been the next day after, Steve-O came down there to me. He was like, hey, you know what, chill, man, I apologize, man, my bad. I do need to be better in trying to, pretty much just share the TV, so on and so forth, man. And after that, everything was straight. Because TV Stevie, like most of us, had been down a while. He had been a lifer, and his main concern was going home as well, right? So eventually, man, I ended up getting a date. I ended up paroling, and I left that motherfucker, and they could do whatever they wanted to do with that goddamn TV room, right? When I came home, I'm still keeping in contact with individuals, so I'm hearing, man, hey, this dude got a date, this dude got a date, this dude is going home, so on and so forth, man. So lo and behold, man, one day I'm talking to somebody that's locked up, and they say, man, TV Stevie went to the parole board, and he is on his way home, man. So yeah, shout out to TV Stevie, man. And actually, about 6 or 7 months ago, I looked up on one of these YouTube interview type podcast things, and who do I see? It's TV Stevie being interviewed, man. So I'm not gonna put it out there on what podcast it was, but once again, like I said, man, if you know, you know. Anyway, man, it's your boy 16 to Life. Resume normal program.
These niggas ain't who they say they is, so beware. Fuck what they sayin', cause these cowards ain't playing fair. They shoot at you shoot at them, they snitch, and they don't care. Fuck gang banging, I'd rather be a square. These niggas ain't who they say they is, so beware. Fuck what they sayin', cause these cowards ain't playing fair. They shoot at you shoot at them, they snitch, and they don't care. Fuck gang banging, I'd rather be a square. Yeah. I swear to God, the game is cold, homie.
What you mean?
I popped on a pussy ass nigga after he stole on me.
What happened next?
That nigga came to court and told on me.
Put that on something.
I sold my soul, homie. Called the highway patrol on me, plus the sheriffs and cops. He told him my name was Eric and I carried a Glock. Soon as you start blowing shots, them niggas going to jail. Don't have a meeting with the cops and then you going to jail. They'll tell him about the shooting, take him, show him his well. DA trying to seal your casket, they gon' throw him the nails. They wanna throw me up in the cell and have me with a L again. Back to strip searchers and guards, read my mail again. Had me far away in the bay, I'm talking Pelican. Eating cold ass soy burgers and warm gelatin. I'm far too intelligent to fall for that twice. Niggas yelling gang gang and ain't about that life. And they'll turn that right in front of your face. Get you found guilty plus 100 years on the case. Your mama in the court with tears running all on her face. Her baby shackled feet, hands and waist.
Goddamn.
These niggas ain't who they say they is, so beware. Fuck what they sayin', cause these cowards ain't playing fair. They shoot at you shoot at them, they snitch, and they don't care. Fuck gang banging, I'd rather be a square. These niggas ain't who they say they is, so beware. Fuck what they sayin', cause these cowards ain't playing fair. They shoot at you shoot at them, they snitch, and they don't care. Fuck gang banging, I'd rather be a square. Yeah. Doing life's no joke, I been where the apes been. You ain't really bout that smoke, you a vape pen. Soon as they catch a joke in the feds or a state pen, that tough guy shit get shed quick like snake skin. Real and fake men can't exist together. I stay down, you turn snitch, so you a bitch forever. Imagine me snitch never, boy, I stuck to the code. You hit the county for a month, you said fuck it and told. Soon as you heard your bitch Nicole was fucking all of your best friend, the news damn near killed you, nigga, caved your chest in. You told about the murders that y'all did on the West End. Who was popping the burners and the one who said lesbian. Cooperated then, signed an affidavit. Felt your life was over, nigga, you was trying to save it. So you told on Antoine, LeBron, Brian, and David. Came home and half your hood forgave it. Goddamn. These niggas ain't who they say they is, so beware. Fuck what they sayin', cause these cowards ain't playing fair. They shoot at you, you shoot at them, they snitch, and they don't care. Fuck gang banging, I'd rather be a square. These niggas ain't who they say they is, so beware. Fuck what they sayin', cause these cowards ain't playing fair. They shoot at you, you shoot at them, they snitch, and they don't care. Fuck gang banging, I'd rather be a square. Yeah.